to this webinar of Retailers Association of India on creating an exceptional shopping experience for every customer, powered by Microsoft Dynamics 365. I take this privilege to introduce our esteemed panelist and the moderator for today's webinar. We have with us Anand Nair, Chief Operating Officer, Lacoste India, Arun Ganapathy, CFO, House of Anita Dongre, Juha, Hamalainen, Industry Lead, Retail Microsoft Business Applications Asia, Keval Dhar, Head Retail Operations, Relaxo Footwear, Mahendra Singh Bhadoria, Senior VP and Head Sales Operations, Biba Apparels Private Limited, and our today's moderator is Amit Manna, Partner, Consumer, Retail and eCommerce, KPMG. I look forward for a very, very insightful discussion and deliberations today. Over to you, Amit. Thank you.
Thanks, Hitesh. Thanks to Arun, Anand, Juha, Keval, and Mahendra for joining in. I think it is a absolutely esteemed panel to be discussing such a interesting topic, and everyone has navigated. It's almost 5 months that we have been navigating, and we are still navigating. So people have found out ways of dealing with this situation, but I think we are learning every day that we are passing through this difficult phase. And so I will start off, because this topic is a very interesting topic with whosoever understands retail well. And so I will start with Anand and then follow the routine with Arun, Juha, and all. That one question which is common to the 5 of you except Juha is how has COVID changed customer expectations when you look at the way you operate as a retailer? So maybe Anand, you can start off.
Perfect. Thanks, Amit. Thank you for inviting me, Rai, and esteemed panels for this opportunity. COVID, of course, as you know, the last 5 months have been quite a difficult phase for retail. We have gone through quite a bit of readjustments, looking at how business has suddenly tumbled from where it was and where it has moved to. Lockdown, of course, was a phase when things went completely awry. We shut stores down and we were waiting for things to reopen. Of course, the reopening phase has been on a very staggered manner. I mean, different parts of the country have opened at different phases. Clearly, digital has taken the center focus. Our business on digital has grown nearly 100%. It's a substantial move from where we were to where we have come to. It won't be unfair also to say that a lot of our existing customers who are on the offline space have also moved into the online space. So we are seeing quite a bit of our customers now shopping both online as well as offline. While we reopened stores across the country, we also saw a resurgence of these customers coming back to the stores. So in a nutshell, if I were to put it, in the short term, I think it has changed the way customers shop. Okay, and I personally, of course, strongly believe that this is not going to be a permanent change. It'll certainly change the normal way of how we run business, but e-commerce is here to stay.
Great, Anand. How about you, Arun? How has Anita Dongre been, coping up with this entire thing? Because apparel is a sector which has, found it, I think, overall tough during, COVID and stuff. So how has it been for you with respect to customer expectations?
Yeah, Amit, so it's almost now 7 months, since the lockdown started. So by 15th of March is where some of the malls started closing. And as Anand said, there was a push on the online space. But again, as the offline started reopening and then the business started improving, what we have also seen is that in the offline space as well, the expectations for the customers were different. It was like number of customers in a store, it was restricted. The sanitization was a focus at the store level. The customers wanted, a bit of cleanliness over there, and also the garments that were used, how they are being stored, how are they being kept. So all those things were there in terms of the offline space as well. So there was a mix of both in the online space as well as in the offline space. The customer expectations changed drastically. In the online space, as Anand said, the business picked up. People were wary of going out of their homes, so they prefer to sit at their own desktops and laptops and then place the orders and then get the merchandise at their doorstep rather than visiting the customers. But at the when you see at the offline space, if I see more on that side, there's a huge change in the way that you do business. So even if you see in the malls, the way the malls have spent money on sanitizing this place, all those food sanitizers and everything. So it's a big change in the way the business is being done, because the expectation of the customer is that I don't want to. Yes, obviously I want to go and shop a bit, but I don't want to get into any situation where I catch the virus over there. So that's the fear which was there in the minds of customers. So it's a pretty different thought process altogether, and I think the situation overnight has changed drastically in the minds of consumers. And obviously, as brands, we'll have to give them that space, whatever that their expectations are there, so that there's a good shopping experience for them.
And if I may add, how are you finding trials and the entire thing around returns if sizes do not fit? Because this is unique to apparel when shopping at the store. And with this entire thing around, hygiene and sanitization picking up.
Exactly.
I was at a Lacoste store some days back, and they are strict that there cannot be returns because for obvious reasons and stuff. So how are you navigating that with respect to the customer?
We are just coming back from a bit of lockdown and the business slump. So here is like what we have seen is there has been a shortfall, a very less footfall compared to what it used to be the pre-COVID level. So today is like, it's like you can't say that, no, I won't take any returns. So what we are doing is right from at the trial stage, whatever is the garment that the consumer has tried. So the garments are quarantined for at least 24 hours. And after the quarantine is done, they're steam ironed, so that they have made it in a manner that it's like the heat is being put on the garment so that the garment is cleaned up and then it's used. And in terms of the returns, so offline space, obviously the returns as a percentage is much less compared to what it is in the online space. So obviously when a customer is again returning the garment, the same process what is done for a trial is done for the returned garment as well. So we just quarantine the garment, keep it over there. Obviously maybe the number of options that a consumer sees is very, very less, might be the number of pieces that gets go into quarantine, but with the lower footfalls and everything over there, it's better that you protect that and keep the garment aside rather than expose it to the consumer. So we keep those garments aside in case of the offline. In case of online, obviously the returns we used to take earlier and we are taking it, and the same process is being done in the warehouse. So they just quarantine over there and then put it back into the system.
Great to hear from you, Arun. Keval, what about you? How have you seen the entire Relaxo experience so far as consumer is concerned, during COVID?
Yeah, we generally believe that the whole epidemic has changed the total thinking of the consumers. First thing they look for, even before they enter into your shop, is the safety. Are we taking the safety measures or not? At the same time, what we have done at Relaxo is that we have ensured the wellness of the staff. That is most on the top priority, plus the wellness of the customer who enters into the shop.
Okay.
As we're just going through, because in our footwear, people like to try. I'm saying every person who enters into the shop wants to try the shoe and then go out or then purchase it.
I agree.
We have done. I'm saying it's the biggest thing for us. So what we have tried to do is that we ask for the particular size. For the particular size, if that size is there, they try it. Otherwise, if they purchase it, well and good. If they don't purchase, then we have to quarantine that for at least 12 hours and use the sanitizer on them. So it's a process through which we are trying to ensure the safety of my consumer as well as my staff within that store. So this whole thing is there. But I will say that Rona dona to chhodna padega, you know, we will have to come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We cannot keep on arguing about it. Business is tough. Business is tough. We have to find out ways how to reach to the consumers. So that has been our approach. That we are opening. So whenever government allows us to open, we are opening up because we are mass brand.
You haven't seen a digital, is it? Are you referring to that it is still a store-based purchase because of the fact of, you know, trying a shoe before wearing on stuff? You have not seen a digital search?
You know, what we did initially when we started in May, we started reaching to the consumer because consumer was not coming to us. So we was sort of started reaching the consumer by sending them the e-catalogs and also telling them that I will deliver it at your home. But you know, that delight which as an Indian, as a particular, because we feel a delight when I am shopping within the brick and mortar store. There is a delight with us that was missing for the consumer. So they're tending to come back to us. And so because again, I'm saying we are the mass brand. So people in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, even I'm available in tier 5 also. So they love to come to our shops to do the shopping. So digitally, yes, we have increased what I was doing earlier. I have almost doubled that. But still, actual brick and mortar feel has to come from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. That is there. I may be doing good digital sales in urban markets or tier 2, tier 3 markets, but tier 4, tier 5, I have to reach to the consumer, and consumer loves to come to into my shop.
I appreciate you are a kind of a mass brand with you know, far-reaching, you know, penetration into the tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. And so the category, though in retail, is a bit different, the way probably a Lacoste or say a house of Anita Dongre would behave. I agree.
Totally 360 degrees apart.
Yeah, correct. Mahendraji, what about Biba? How has Biba seen it? Is it similar to the way Anita Dongre or a Lacoste has seen, or there are certain changes you have seen with the way customer is behaving during COVID, whether it be online or offline?
Amit, I would more precisely, I will say that there are certain behaviors which are common to the industry. So the safety aspect and the digitization and all that. So everybody else is seeing, like Anand had said and Keval has said, we have also observed that. But more precisely, if I talk about the ethnic industry, how the consumer demands have changed. So if I come to the narrow scaling to that, then 2-3 very clear behaviors we have seen. One is that discoverability of the product has started earlier. It used to start at your front facade. When customer is coming to the mall or high street, you used to look at your store and see what's there through your visual merchandising. Now it has started from his house or her house, because whenever she is browsing on the digital side, she is more or less very clear that what she is going to do. So, so that is one change I have clearly observed in my apparel and Biba kind of customers. Second, what we have observed is the comfort wear has come in play. So since the work from home has come, is now mandatory for a few months initially, and is still, I think 70-80% organizations are allowing them to work from home. So work from home has come in play, and therefore multi-use product is also in demand. So while you are working, you are cooking and you are sleeping. So there's a lot of demand on comfort wear, a lot of demand on multi-use, which means your full one garment that is dresses kind of thing. So these are the few changes which are very clearly visible.
Very interesting, Mahendra. In fact, you are bringing in a very valid point that the customer is probably first going online at his home.
Yes.
Searching for what he wants and then coming to the store, because probably it is much more decided purchase to go out and to a store. And second, around the, you know, the entire thing around that, since it is not for so much for outer you know, outside wear, but things to be worn at home, the entire thing around comfort within your category is coming in, which is very interesting.
And also, if you look at now, new look has come in play, especially for the women. That is Zoom look and the social media look. So you can see a lot of challenge, social media challenge. So actually, there's a lot of pent up demand.
I can appreciate.
And what I was hearing, that industry has gone through, apparel industry has gone through by the bad phase initially. but I'm seeing very upsurge demand during this. So whenever there is any occasion, whether it is Eid or Rakhi or now Pujo in the East, we are seeing good demand in the market. So industry is kind of coming out from any kind of depression sign. But definitely what I'm also seeing on the portal side and in the market, that people are more towards the brands, less towards the private labels and all that. So this is also one big insight which we have discovered. And we have always seen that during all bad times, people move towards the brand. So because multiple buy is not happening. So buy is happening for the specific occasion because of lesser money and all that. So brands are definitely going to be benefited.
I would just like to add on this, because if you're looking at the demand pattern, the demand from the rural market is coming very aggressively, rather than the urban market.
So Keval, very good insight. In fact, I was on leave for 20 days just during the this short time. So I have gone to smaller town. So I have seen that why the demand are coming higher in those towns. They are not actually seeing this pandemic as a very serious problem. Unlike
you are right. You are right.
Agreed. Basically, the recovery rate is so good they feel like it's a pandemic.
Some places, Amit, I was surprised to see that people were saying it's over now. And I'm talking about fairly educated people, and people are in the market, they are moving out the market. So I think that's the reason that, and also there's a less dependability on most people in the smaller town are either they have their own self-dependent people or government employed. So there the salary impact or the other impacts are not there. These are the few things which are coming in play.
And still the harvest was very good. Until the monsoon was very good. The harvest is very good. So their economy is still better.
Much better.
Absolutely.
All tier 2, tier 3 towns, the demands are much better than the metros. Also, there is a mix of one more insight, if you look upon the mix of malls and non-mall. So mix of mall and non-mall is huge in the metros and lesser in the other. So if you see the sales pattern in the hottest high street versus mall vis-a-vis last year, I think it's a complete reverse. So
agreed.
So these are the insights which are, if you understand the science very well, I think you can manage your sales very nicely.
Great. Juha, on to you. You have been waiting. Because so Microsoft, and it's interesting. You straddle across subsectors, if I may say, within retail and stuff. So what are some of the key consumer trends you have observed, whether within India or globally, which are kind of a one would say behavioral change from what it was pre-COVID?
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Thanks for that question, and Amit, and no need to apologize. I really interesting.
No, because you are the last one on the block. So
so my fellow panelists covered some of the key trends that we are seeing, so which is the safety and well-being is really shaping the buying behavior. So I think that was pretty well covered. Secondly, of course, the boom of the digital commerce and actually omni-channel, and that was also covered quite well with everybody in the panel. But I'd like to add there that we really see that the inventory visibility is crucial to consumers, shoppers, right? They might be at home looking at online. They need to have a visibility by a store where they can order or order digitally, and then they are traversing omni-channel channels, so they could just click and collect at store based on their safety and urgency requirements, right? So whilst in the past I think inventory visibility is always considered as a bit of a back-end process, it's now has become really a front customer facing requirement. So that's one thing. Also so consumers are maybe more prone to switch brand loyalty, switch brands, and we've seen that the main reason is still pricing and promotion related. The second would be the product availability, right? And I think one of the key reason for this is that whilst more and more purchases are moving towards digital channels, it's more challenging for brands to differentiate. And I really liked Keval's comment on that, bringing that delight in in-store experiences, right? So brands really need to find a way how they can differentiate the digital experience of consumers as well. So this is something that that we've seen.
Excellent. Tell me one thing. You talked about an interesting topic about brand switching by the consumers during COVID. Is it also to do with the ability to how fast you service them on an online mode? I am talking of last mile delivery. Do you think it's one of the reasons, or is it around the availability thing on online, or the websites going slow? What is it really?
Well, I would say it's all this omni-channel customer experience, right? And we've seen a pickup of a last mile delivery into business models. It's becoming pretty much a requirement, and often like deliveries, same day deliveries within even a couple of hours. So these are some of the ways how brands can really differentiate and prevent a churn. So it's definitely
excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Back to you, Anand. I have heard from all of you, and one thing which is emerging is it has been difficult to navigate COVID. People have thought interestingly. Mahendra talked about it. I think Arun talked about it. Everyone has probably spent hours together in their boardrooms thinking that what we should do different and out of the box. So my question is, when you talk about such an international brand like you and the Indian context, how have you innovated, which has finally, if not solved 100% of your problems, at least you have been able to navigate, say 60 or 70% of the problems? How have you been able to innovate? What have you done differently?
So as I said, Amit, initially there has been a slight change in the way the customers are shopping. They're choosing slightly different channels of shopping now. But what we have seen very interestingly is that the customer who's now trending online, who was actually doing offline and moved online, we're seeing higher sense of UPTs as far as we are concerned. We're seeing customers shopping higher number of units as opposed to pre-COVID. What we are seeing is that the customer, I mean, we are largely in the sports space, right? We're not
absolutely
in the lounge space. So when you're home, I mean, you still want to be, if you need to get onto a call, you need to be seen wearing a brand. You want to be seen wearing good product, because there's no much socializing happening. There's restriction of what you can do outside. While I strongly believe man is a social animal, and therefore there's a need to go out, and there's need to be in the space, and you hear about Zoom meetings happening, Zoom catch-ups happening, but you want to look the best, right? Okay, yeah. And therefore we saw a big jump in our e-com business. So what we did was we quickly wanted to ramp that up. Okay, our warehouse, which initially or usually is a replenishment space, we looked at converting that into a fulfillment center. Putting systems and processes, people behind it to ensure that our delivery mechanisms can improve. Okay, well, of course, returns. I mean, we've been in the country for the last 26 years now, and our sizes are pretty standard. So for someone who's buying offline to move online is not such a big task, because you know your size, you know the person, you know what sort of a product you want to pick. So as long as the first two inhibitions are out of the way, you go online, you pick what you want. Okay. Third thing that happened for us is when we reopened our stores is to get our stores to have a personal connect with our customers. Okay. In the order of preference today, e-com is right on top. You have high street stores, which are number 2, and malls certainly come the third, and then the shop and shop businesses. The one-on-one connect works beautifully. Okay, there are cases where products have been streamed online to a customer on a digital platform. You like the product, you have it delivered. And yes, and as Juha mentioned, there is a big demand for also omni-channel, because products could be sitting in any part of the country. For us to be able to reach out to the customer is critical. When I go online to pick something, the product probably is not sitting in my warehouse. It's probably sitting in some location in, let's say, in Bangalore. The customer shopping from Delhi. So omni-channel has kind of helped us bridge that gap. Okay, so on and so forth. I mean, I can sit here and talk about it the whole day. There's so many data points that are emerging every day, and every 3 months when you sit down and churn data, there is a completely different or a slightly different information to look at.
And
Okay.
one more thing which I wanted to find, as probably Mahendra was referring to, are you seeing a lot of customers actually trying to look at the stuff online and deciding and coming to the store and buying? Is that a phenomena you're observing based on data churning or customer behavior?
See, not so much in our case. Why I say that is because the sizes are standard, right? So if you're a Lacoste customer, you're always a Lacoste customer. You know the product, you know the croc, you know the color, you know your size. You go online, you pick your product. What we are also seeing in terms of a slight trend is there are a lot more basics that are getting picked up. That's probably one of the interesting point. But maybe for a Biba or for an Anita Dongre, for example,
the segments are different.
more fashion, it's more fit, and there is a bit of assistance required, if I may put it that way, for someone to shop.
Correct. Arun, on to you. Hygiene, as you know, in apparel is a big challenge. So especially if you look at the COVID times. So what kind of technology interventions you are doing at a store level, to kind of get out of this thing? Because I think as some people call it SafeX. So safety is probably one of the biggest components today for a customer, and going to stay for at least some time, probably till the vaccine comes in or something like that. So how are you using technology for kind of enhancing customer experience at the store, if I may ask, or on the verge of, if not done? Arun, I can't hear you. Maybe you are on mute. Arun's audio. Hitesh, Arun's audio.
Maybe we should come back to Arun. I think he's having some.
Yeah, maybe we will come back to Arun. So on to you, Juha. What kind of technologies Microsoft is kind of working on in this environment? Whether it be on Azure or with respect to automation, or I don't know what. Which you think, kind of, there are people who are from the apparel sector, from say footwear and stuff. What do you think is very relevant to the, say, the Indian context, which you think, or something which you have seen globally, which kind of addresses the current set of problems, whether it be with respect to traffic at stores, or it be with respect to, embracing e-com properly in a way. So what do you feel, Juha?
Okay, so as both ourselves with Microsoft, when we responded to crisis and recovering from that, and also with the customers that we're working with, so we really look into a three-phase approach. So the first is the responding to crisis, then recovering, and then reimagining. So I think the immediate crisis behind, and after the lockdowns, we are now getting back to the offices, back to the stores, back to the distribution centers. So in the kind of like we are in the recover phase. So solutions wise, we see a lot of demand to return to workplace solutions, right? For instance, the solutions that could first of all could communicate the COVID-19 health alerts to the organization. People could book workplace in the office, checking in and out in the office or stores and so on. But also another focus is really to modernize and ensure the agility and resilience in the supply chain. We talk a lot about the omni-channel, and providing a way to transact, for instance, digitally is just one step. It's often maybe even the easiest step than fixing the back end. For instance, Anand talked about ensuring the omni-channel and shipping goods from other parts of the country to somewhere else. So one of the technology we've seen a big demand for is something we call distributed order management solution, really to orchestrate the entire process of having the right products at the right time in the right store. So this is something that we've seen a lot of demand for. And just kind of a lot of retailers that we're talking to, they do have a legacy ERP systems, because it just doesn't happen that you replacing your ERP so often, right? But what we've really seen happening is that we are able to leverage intelligent, kind of more like workload specific solutions and bring that to help the customers. As an example, bringing, for instance, near real-time visibility to inventories, more advanced analytics and AI-based decision-making and insights and so on. So this is really crucial for the current phase. So if that answered the question.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Arun, are you audible?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay.
So the question was around technology and,
Yeah. So Amit, there are two things here. One is in terms of the customer experience per se, what are the customers' history, and also on the payment side of it. So let me cover both. So once at the customer level, obviously there is a few things which either COVID or not, what is that we are working on is figuring out the customer history. What are the customer's preferences? What is that she has bought earlier? So what is that her preferences, so that the store manager can just identify and then suggest that these are the new styles, linking to whatever a previous purchase history is, and suggest that these are the purchases that you can do. So that is on the customer experience side in terms of upselling, you can say, or cross-selling. That's what you're trying to do. On the payment side of it, what is that we are trying to do is something like a contactless payment, so that there is no direct contact between the store staff and the customer. So either send a link to the customer, so then and there the customer makes the payment through the link, so that there is no direct interaction with the store staff, and they just do their shopping and then they go off. So that that is on the payment side of it. So, and when I come to the technology side of whatever that I explained, so what we are also trying to do is that getting a view of the customer. So today there is the customer is, you can't classify customer as an online customer or an offline customer. Like Anand said, an offline customer has moved to an online space right now. So earlier, at least, there was a very clear demarcation between an offline customer and an online customer. And we had implemented omni-channel a year and a half back. So I think that has helped us in terms of bridging that gap, using the store inventory, because as I said earlier, the store footfalls are lower. So we are using the store inventory for the customer orders which are coming through the website, so that the endless aisle as well as the omni-channel bit is helping out there. So there again, the customer data is all centrally located in a central place. So I know that the customer has shopped in a particular store or shopped through the website, and the history of the customer is mapped. So that is where we are in terms of the technology. What we would like to go about is something more in terms of getting into how the customer responded to your campaigns and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. On to you, Keval, and something very specific to your even the current store journey, since you are not so much onto digital. One thing which I wanted to understand from you is, have you seen the average, say, bill value increasing or something that, the customer doesn't want to come again and again to the store and, wants to pick up more during a purchase, maybe for the family also, or any kind of a, different kind of a behavior, Keval?
The basic thing is, when you talk about the per pair value, it has definitely gone down because the people are purchasing only the necessities this time. I'm saying they want it, the only thing which they require. I'm saying there is no, because the outdoor are almost off. Nobody is going for an exercise. Nobody is going for a walk. I'm saying if they will go, it will be a small walk in the morning. So for that, they require a simple sneaker or a shoe. So my per pair value has come down because they are purchasing more of the basic stuff. But the volume has gone up. I'm saying if volume has gone up, per pair value has come down, but volume has gone up.
I can understand.
And what is surprisingly, what the people are looking for is that they need to spend very less time in the showroom. They don't want to be crowded, and I'm saying they don't want to have a crowd around them. So we still follow 5-man rule. I'm saying no doubt the government has eased that norm now, but still we try to maintain 5 people in a particular showroom. And very importantly, what people are looking at is that they want it locally delivered. I'm saying the stock inventory has to be updated, looking at what is selling. We need to replenish that stock into the stores, because that has become the fundamental of our survival. that we need to fill up the stocks as required by the people. I'm saying it is not the other way around. Initially, pre-COVID, we used to launch the product. Now, what people are looking at, we have to manufacture that and we have to produce that.
Oh, excellent.
That is the big
makes sense, because you are right that finally, in such periods, it's also important to optimize inventory in a way. So
very, very correct.
Moving SKUs and trying to build the inventory around that is much better than carrying the long tail along with you.
Very, very correct.
Makes sense. Mahendra, on to you. Yeah. So you have heard, you have given already some very interesting insights. So what kind of innovations at the store have you people gone in for? Whether it be with respect to technology, obviously the safety and hygiene kind of remains a common denominator. So I am not talking about it. But what kind of innovations, whether it be with respect to your stores or whether it be with respect to e-com, have you done, to navigate through this phase, and which you think will also take you to the, a smooth sailing when the festival season is coming?
Yeah. So I think, as Anand rightly said, that Biba is a women fashion brand, and therefore the expectation from the women is very, very high from us. So if you look at Biba customer, they generally look at, they do a lot of trials, they do a lot of discovery on the product side. They also go on other people's, other brands site or other brands store, because if you go to any mall or any vicinity, you will see that ethnic now become a zone. It's a complete zone where you can see you can see Chandni Chowks kind of market in every mall, in every high street. So therefore, it's a huge competition in upcoming category. So in our kind of, and the women's are generally, we are getting two kind of women. One are very, very affluent and very forward-looking kind of, and there are some orthodox and some mid of the journey kind of women as well. So there, they really don't want to go completely on the digital side and all those things. So what we have done is we have improved our digital information on the social, on all digital media, whether it is social media or our own website or Facebook page or Instagram, so on and so forth. So there we have given enough opportunity for anyone to discover the product, and hence they can decide whether they want to go through the omni-channel route and they want to go through the our own biba.in, or they want to visit my own store. And also we are communicating continuously on the all social media points, that how the stores are safe and how their journey is going to happen. So as you rightly said, that safex, you use the word. So we are continuously communicating them that this is how my stores are looking like, and if you come, you are fairly safe. So this is one piece which I'm saying. And second, consumer behavior does not change so easily, because since beginning they are coming and experiencing product, going to the fitting room and going out. So what we are, so in our kind of category, the engagement is equal to the experience, shopping experience is equal to your engagement. So how you can improve, one is the digital engagement, which people are not very used to. We are trying to make them comfortable on the digital side. So there are a lot of videos we are putting and communicating them through videos. But at the same time, they are very comfortable talking to our own store staff. So we have figured out the video calling facility. I think most retailers are doing today. So through video calling journey, you can connecting to the consumer and giving them very clear, you are answering their queries, you are giving them idea about your product, and then they are again deciding, considering whether they need to come or they want a product at their home. So there's a some subsequent increase in the home delivery side as well. So these are the few innovations which we have done. We are, this is beyond omni-channel. So these are the things which we have done. So basically, reach out to the consumer is the key. We are product-led organization, and therefore a lot of product innovations are happening. So if you don't communicate to the consumer in right manner, you will definitely not see.
Great, Mantra. Great to hear that. Yeah. Back to you, Anand. I had a very, since we are talking digital, we are talking customer experience and stuff. Do you think, obviously Lacoste is a great brand, which stands for such things globally. But I'm just thinking that, have you seen, investments, if I say in technology, whether it be automation, whether it be, say artificial chatbots and stuff, or whether it be, as you are talked about, real-time visibility of inventory. If we look at the finer points which bring about, that customer delight and stuff. So because, I think even if we kind of, if we have interesting analytics at the background, even these set of customers who buy at our store, we can even segment the customers, So looking at that, do you think Lacoste has really invested in that kind of technology, or it was already existing and it helped you during the COVID period? How would you like to comment on that aspect?
Of course, certainly. We've been on the technology front from a very, very long time. I mean, we have a very robust and a strong CRM customer base on which, of course, we work on that information quite regularly. And in the last 5-6 months, you like it or not, you've been pushed to look at that information more closely.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we are seeing, as I mentioned, we are seeing an increased presence or increased preference of customers looking digital, primarily because of security and safety reasons. But at the same time, it would not be unfair to say that today, putting a bot or putting a system is one part of the story. The other part of the story is how will you service that customer? How far are you willing to go to ensure that product reaches the customer? Okay, we're largely in the polo business. So the point that I always try to make is how will you ensure that the product reaches the customer in the shortest available time and from the closest or the nearest store that the customer can access. Having also said that, one also needs to be careful in terms of how you deal with that customer, because when you put AI in place, there's a lot of information that's popping out. There's a lot of information that's bubbling. One needs to be careful in terms of picking the right direction that you want to go. At the end of the day, you're dealing with humans, right? Not bots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So today, my CRM person and my IT person and my merchandising operations person are the best buddies, right? Because that's pretty much forming the chain today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the team should, like Mr. Dar pointed out, you need to go back and produce what you need for your customer. Today, the customer is dictating and saying that this is what I'm looking at. I mean, there was a phase when I think we sold out on all the flip-flops. And we were looking for car because predominantly that's what the customer was pointing out and saying that, look, I'm going to be spending a lot of time at home. I need my loungewear. I need my flip-flops. Please make sure it is there. Okay. And then it is now dependent how the organization is going to view this information and say, hey, look, this is now a quick change because we are already placed our orders for the season and we are waiting for the season to start when COVID kind of unleashed itself, right?
Yeah.
So we were sitting on information now that there's a season change. Now, how quickly is one able to adapt to the situation? We'll eventually also determine how far one is going to go to service that customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if I've answered your question. It's like
yeah. Excellent. You are on to you. There are audience who is in kind of posting questions which will come to later, and there are interesting retailers. What do you think? How can you probably know it much better? How can retailers, which are some of the AI-driven stuff? I have talked about some of them. Anand has talked. Mahendra has talked. But what are those some solutions which maybe we have missed or something which is very important, which retailers ought to adopt in this kind of a scenario?
Yeah, thanks.
Customer experience.
Yeah, if I start from the customer experience and going back to also what Anand commented, and I see some of the audience questions around that. So now more than ever, it's really key that retailers know what's happening with their customers and with those customers that haven't yet to be reached, right? So, but one of the area where organizations struggle is because they really have this fragmented data estate, siloed systems. Let's say whether it's a social media, it's a CRM, it's the ERP, it's you name it, loyalty solutions. So the key is to be able to bring all this customer data together on a single platform, unifying the customer profiles from different data sources to one single source of truth, right? And once you have this enabled, then you can apply AI models to, for instance, come up with a high-value marketing segments that you can then target through whether it's marketing automation or other touch points like customer service agents or the first line workers in store and so on. So this is something we've seen a lot. And for instance, as an example, I could take one large American company called Walgreen Boots Alliance. So as you might know, they are a large health and beauty retailer in US. So we just recently went and partnered with them to create this customer data platform for them. And they have 100 million customer profiles. And that was scattered, the data was scattered across 180 different systems. So with the Microsoft Customer Data Platform, with hundreds of pre-built connectors to the main systems, whether it's your ERP or some of the CRM solutions, they could bring in the solution into one platform and then starting to engage and improve the customer experience across the touch points. So that has been a really, really good case study for us. And second, AI-driven innovation that I would like to call out is, and which I believe might resonate to my fellow panelists. This is, we partnered with Bestseller, which is a Denmark-based apparel retailer. So we have recently launched a solution called Dynamics 365 Fraud Protection, right? So this is a solution that we actually started to use ourselves. As you know, Microsoft is one of the biggest retailers in the world. We sell to large corporations, small corporations, consumers, right? So we created the solutions to really protect our revenue. Primarily for us, it was e-commerce, but for Bestseller, the use case was the loss prevention. So in physical retail, retailers experience these fraudulent activities in terms of product returns or discounts. Sometimes it happened that, let's say, a consumer buys a product at a promotional price online, but then they come to a store. They might even know the cashier person, and then they just return and get a full price back. So with Bestseller and with any retailers who are interested in this, so the approach we take is that we would run a very simple POC. It could take maybe less than one day. Take your some of the historical piece of your terminal data. We run it through our AI models within that fraud protection system, and within an hours we could produce a report suggesting that, hey, these terminals and these transactions might have a propensity of being fraudulent activities. And so the benefits that Bestseller have really achieved with this solution is not only the increased revenue with the lesser returns, but also the operational efficiencies by having less investigative work to really find out those frauds. So and the ROI that Bestseller saw in a really short time justified them to put that money, the ROI, into other engagements. And for instance, doing the same fraud protection in the e-commerce space, where we could reduce the fraudulent activities and also reduce the wrongful rejects, because that's really disappointing when, as we might know, at least myself, if let's say sometimes I go and with a valid credit card, my transaction get rejected, and that's a bad customer experience, right? So by working with the AI models and our merchant networks, bringing the intelligence into the solutions. So these are some of the, actually, I find pretty cool innovations that we've recently
Excellent, Juha. Moving on to Arun. Arun, would you like to comment on? I think you are touched about it. Would you like to comment on a 360-degree customer view, which I think is a buzzword nowadays, because at one end you have brick and mortar, at one end e-com is becoming so important. We are talking of blurring, boundaries between physical and digital, and calling it phygital sometimes. So, is there an attempt at Anita Dongre to get a 360-degree view of the customer and thereby personalize? Because there is a audience question which I am also taking simultaneously around how important is personalization in this space. So, Arun, would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, so Amit, as I touched upon earlier, there is the difference between the online and offline customer is not there. and on a 360. So what we have done so far is at least made the database single. So the database now, the customer, because we used to have two databases earlier, but now at least the database is single, but it's only the offline and online. And what we don't have right now is the social media side of it. So because what we are also seeing is, with the way the COVID has impacted and the way, the resources are limited, it's now more of a digital marketing than any other mode of marketing. So,
yeah, you're right.
And also in the digital marketing, it's more on the social media pages where you spend more on either the Instagrams of the world or the Facebooks of the world and see. So and also the campaigns are all run over there more of, other than, and added to that maybe the Googles and the Facebooks of the world. So what we are trying to do is that how do you bring that data as well as the data that you have in terms of the customer or shop together, so that if you get everything together, so you know that, okay, I put an Instagram post over there, this customer had viewed these products, and then I link to the history of the customer and say that what she has shopped, and then that is where then you can bring a personalization, because today the personalization that we are doing is only when the customer visits the store. So even on an online space, you're not yet come to the stage of personalization. But with this data, which is going to be there, what I call a digital intelligence, the moment you have the data through digital intelligence, keep every interaction of the customer at every touch point, you record the data, and as Juan said, that you put out all those, use ML, AI, and everything, and then put out all those data together in one platform, and then that is where you can get into the personalization of a customer, so that I very clearly know the preference of the customer. I very clearly know what are the products that the customer has viewed. I know what are the campaigns that the customer was interested with, and that will enable me into the personalization space of it.
Absolutely. On to Keval, I have one interesting question, and this is essentially around your retail operation. See, you have navigated through pandemic, you have seen stores open, you have seen the customer behavior changing and stuff. How do you think you will kind of beef up your stores, or what will you do differently for the upcoming festival season and the new year? I think will the approach be the same as last year, or you think you should tweak it, because the discounting will be there and certain things will be kind of normal, it's done every year. So Keval, I wanted your thoughts on it, because you are a mass retailer and it is very important for you to get, whether it is 2-tier cities or 3-tier cities, you need the customer in the store finally. So what do you think, and what are the feelings within Relaxo of trying to do things differently at the store? Because you are, as you rightly said, we are not allowing more than 5 customers at the store today. Will that be the same approach during, say, Diwali or the New Year, or are you going to, do certain things differently? So I thought, it's great to pick your mind on that.
We have seen the the progress of the season. Because summer season went for a toss, that was inventories were piled up. So we wanted to clear the inventories, but not with a promotion or a discount. What we have tried to do is we have tried to reach to the customer, and what for the future, for the next season, that is the winter season, because that is the more of the shoes season. What we have done is that we have price the product. We have done the product engineering more rather than going out with the promotions and the discounts. What we have done is that we have done the price engineering so that we have been able to launch, we will be able to launch a product at a price point which is attractive to the customer, which we have seen for the last 3 months or 4 months, what price points are selling. So we have brought down, basically product innovation is such that the price points have been compromised on that. We don't want to have extra crowd into the outlet by giving extra discounts, by announcing extra discounts into the market. We will like to go with this steady pace, but give new products to the consumer at a very affordable and attractive price. That is how we are looking at it. And product innovation, that is where the AI has come in. In fact, this has helped us a lot in forecasting, because the data, we had to have data across all the countries. We have around 600 stores. So the data used to come from that 600 stores. Then we used to turn out what actually is happening, what actually is selling, what price point is selling. So this has helped. The technology has helped a lot in that, in our innovations and introductions for the next season.
Okay.
Price promotions, I don't think I should go with discounts and promotions at the time. I need to give the product at a very affordable price, at an attractive price.
Yeah,
that is our strategy.
That is what actually matters to the consumer.
Yeah.
Whether it is value for money for him. So Mahendra, on to you, and probably one of the questions which is there from the audience is interesting, which is around obviously everyone is thinking, since brick and mortar is paramount to most of the people sitting in the room. Brick and mortar is obviously paramount, but one interesting question is, how are we making the virtual space more enjoyable? So that's one question which I can see on the forum, and I thought, Mahendra, I will ask you to respond to that in the interest of time.
Sure, definitely. We look upon the current shift in the channel. So channel mix is changing. So there's a shift happening towards omni-channel, shift happening towards the virtual side. So you can make it more enjoyable, more engaging, while understanding the individual, as you said, that how personalization is important. So in our category, personalization is very, very important. And when you are looking at virtual space, you are which goes through AI and ML. So you are having basic data in place. There is a huge basic data in place in our category. And then if you are using that and creating personas and giving personalized product, then it is extremely enjoyable. So if you understand the consumer journey from the discoverability stage, and if you are offering them what exactly that customer wants, I think that's how you can make it more enjoyable. And
okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anand, one question on to you. This is a tough one that, it's an audience question. Won't a customer consider creating an exceptional shopping experience for every customer as intrusive? So this is a tricky one, because saying that by personalizing, are you being, trying to be more kind of, partial to a customer or something? Would you like to comment? That's an interesting question. In fact, I have not encountered a question like that before. Interesting.
No, it's a very, 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 very interesting question. Okay. See, we need to understand what personalization means to start with. Okay. Personalization means different things to different people, right? What is personalization to me is very different from the customer. That's the first thing one needs to address. The second thing one needs to look at is, in the current age of privacy concerns that we are all going through, we need to know where to draw the line. Okay, a lot of places where we have seen people crossing the line in terms of intrusive, being very intrusive in terms of the customer data points. That's something one has to be very, very careful, and brands will have to take cognizance of this fact that you cannot cross the line. Okay, having spoken on both of these things, the way forward for any retailer, for any brand, is going to be personalization, because my needs are very different from let's say one's needs versus your needs versus Mahendra's needs. So one, as a brand, it's a constant quest to find information of what this customer is looking for. Okay, as time progresses, what we will see is machine language coming into play. Machine language in conjunction with mobile technology and artificial intelligence will actually be the pillars of data points for us to pick from. Because I mean, today you go on Netflix, right? I mean, there is more time spent to pick which movie one needs to watch, is because Netflix has pre-decided for you the menu of what you should be watching. Okay, and you really take an hour to decide which movie to watch by the time you actually spend that time deciding which one to watch. So on and so forth. So technology, while it's a big boon, but at the same time, brands will need to be very, very careful in terms of how you're going to approach the personalization bit. On the one side, there is great opportunity, but there's also a flip side to it.
Yeah, I agree. On to you, Juha, and this is an interesting question, that with respect to checkouts and store layouts, how do you see technology enabling this? Because I also know of several such checkout things which are happening all across retail. But I wanted to hear your views on store planograms changing due to COVID. What have you seen? And the element of faster checkouts, because this is very important. I think many of you mentioned that, the customer is not willing to spend much time at the store. So, and also about contactless e-commerce, contactless, store experience. So Yuva, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, sure. And it's a great question. There's so many things that technology can do and help for especially for COVID-19, the social distancing scenario. So can't cover it all, but I can just highlight something, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, buy online, pick up in store, or at least I don't know how much you see in India, but pick up at curbside, where we could even identify the upcoming car, and then the staff could bring the goods to the car, so the consumers don't even need to go into the store. But if you think about what's happening in the store, it's quite interesting. And typically in the digital space, we can easily get observational data, for instance, where a customer is surfing on the website and what emails they're opening and all that, and take the observational data and drive our operations and engagement based on that. But traditionally in the brick and mortar, it's been more difficult. But now what we are really embarking on with our retail customers is this connected store, or store of the future, right? Where with the help of, let's say, sensors, video, cloud computing, so we can really put, let's say, a few cameras, just for instance, facing certain part of the shop, to really and provide that data feed into systems, and using AI to say that, hey, for instance, the queue is too long, we need a new cashier, or the customers are dwelling on this area more, so we could possibly put the certain products separately, just to avoid people congregating too close to each other. So we have seen bridging of digital and physical space for this with the connected store and with the capabilities, computer vision, and so on. So
great, Yuva. So finally, in the interest of time to close, I would like to have one single line comment from each one of the esteemed speakers on how do you think the festive season will be for each one of you. So starting with you, Anand.
Well, of course, I speak for myself, but the common jury is going to be, the jury's out there, but the common understanding is we are all looking forward to the season. We are all looking forward to Diwali. I think this is going to, I wouldn't say make up, but in a sense, it's going to be something which all of us have waited for the last 6 months. We've just kind of crossed the curve as far as spring summer is concerned. Diwali is indeed a big season for us. So the next 3 months, all of us will be padding up, looking at how business needs to be attracted. So big time for all of us, and I'm sure each one of us.
Arun, what about you?
Yeah, so my fellow CFOs yesterday in the webinar said that we are looking at for the festive season, and the bad days are back behind us. And I think I would like to endorse the same view. And I think we are looking forward to the festive season, and hopefully the initial signs for the Pujo sales are coming good. So hopefully we see that the trend should improve over the period. And then, as also somebody said, that the tier 2, tier 3 markets are not much impacted, and the feeling is that the COVID is gone. So I think hopefully that should also give some positivity during this period.
Yeah, correct. What about you, Keval?
I say stop crying. Stop crying, keep crying.
That's a good message from you. That's a good message.
Also, we have to reach, and we look forward to the festival season. We have to do better.
Yeah, we have cribbed a lot. It's time to end us. Mahendra, final word from you.
Yeah, extremely hopeful, and indications are very good from the Pujo market. So we are going to carry forward these indications, and very hopeful and excited.
Great.
So look forward to see greater Diwali in this year. Yeah.
Great. So all of you, excellent talking for 1 hour. I hope we had more time, but I think it was absolutely great to hear from all of you that how are you, kind of, and the best part is the positive sentiment, so yeah, I didn't feel from anyone that, oh, this was a bad time and, we really do not know. Everyone has tried to figure out things of, how to navigate this unique thing which we have not seen in our lives. So great talking to all of you. So bye. I think it was, I really cherish the 1 hour which we all spent together. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bye,
Amit.
Keval. Bye, Arun.
It was
Bye,
wonderful.
Anand. Bye,
Yeah.
Juha.
Thanks. Have a great festive season and all the best.
Yeah.
Thank
Hope
you.
so.
Likewise.